The morning haze hung heavy over Crestwood Academy's quad, where Willow Blackwood tugged at her baggy jacket, a nervous habit. Her slight build was swallowed by the material, and her auburn hair framed her face, a shield against prying eyes. Students bustled around her, a river of noise she'd learned to ignore since arriving from Montana. Willow gripped her well-worn satchel, heading towards the science hall, eyes downcast. She'd mastered blending in, or so she thought, becoming a ghost in the corridors. Her grandfather's gruff voice echoed in her mind, a saying from his Irish upbringing, "Like a reed, lass, yield so ye don't snap." The wisdom rang false as she saw the jocks near the art studio. "Well, well, look who decided to surface," the voice that had plagued her days boomed. Damien Knox stood with his usual crew, his dark hair gleaming. Tall and muscled from rugby, he drew attention. His hazel eyes held a nasty spark Willow recognized as the start of another ordeal. Beside him were his sidekicks, Cody Bell, whose blonde hair and sunny face would fool anyone, but whose smirk was well known, and Leo Shaw, quiet and brooding, who seemed to enjoy the daily ritual. They were Crestwood's untouchables, their status cemented by trophies and connections that reached the town's elite. "Hey, Ghost Girl," Damien called, using the name that stuck after someone noticed her pale complexion. "Eat anything lately, or still living on shadows and sorrow?" The small crowd laughed, and Willow felt shame burn her cheeks. She hurried, but Cody stepped in front, blocking her. "Where's the fire?" Cody's voice dripped with false charm that made Willow's stomach churn. "Just being friendly. Maybe offer you some lunch." "I'm fine," Willow whispered, voice lost in the hallway noise. She tried to pass, but Leo blocked her other side, trapping her. "Fine," Damien mocked, voice rising in mock surprise. "Look at you, you're see-through. I bet I could blow you over." He reached out, and Willow flinched, hitting the lockers. The clang echoed, drawing more students. Miss Albright walked by, her heels clicking, but her eyes stayed fixed ahead. Like most teachers, she ignored student politics. "Please," Willow managed, voice trembling. "I need to get to class." "Need to get to class," Leo mimicked, sparking laughter. "What class? Advanced vanishing?" Willow clenched her fists, forcing herself still. Her grandfather had taught her strength came from control, from knowing when to fight. But more than that, she knew her situation. One wrong move, and everything would change. The bullying continued, designed to humiliate without crossing lines. They knocked her books down, stepped on her drawings, and commented on her looks, her family, her flaws. Willow stayed silent, gathering her things, weathering the storm. The air smelled of old dust and floor wax. By lunch, she'd retreated to her sanctuary, the back of the auditorium behind the stage curtains. The stage manager, Mr. Davies, was one of the few who noticed her, offering a kind word. But even his presence couldn't lift the weight in her chest. The faint scent of old costumes hung in the air. She took out her phone and scrolled through messages from her friend in Montana, each one reminding her of the life she'd left behind. The photos showed familiar faces, laughing at jokes she didn't share, living lives she could only watch. The isolation felt complete, a storm of displacement. The phone felt cold in her hand. "Excuse me," a voice broke her thoughts. Willow looked up to see a girl with green eyes and dark, braided hair. She recognized her from history class, but hadn't spoken to her. "I'm Maya Patel. Can I sit here?" Willow nodded, surprised. Maya sat across from her, pulling out her lunch. "I saw what happened this morning," Maya said, unwrapping a burrito. "Those guys are awful. I'm sorry you have to deal with that." The kindness nearly broke through Willow's defenses. "It's nothing," she replied, though the words felt empty. The burrito smelled of spices. "Nobody should have to deal with that," Maya said firmly. "Have you thought about telling someone? A counselor? Maybe the principal?" Willow shook her head. "It wouldn't help. They're careful. And their families. She trailed off. Maya studied her, then smiled. Well, I think you're stronger than you know. The quietest people are often the ones who surprise everyone. As days passed, Maya's friendship became a lifeline. They sat together in history, studied in the library, and Willow felt less invisible. Maya had a way of drawing her out, asking about Montana, her interests, her dreams. For the first time since arriving at Crestwood, Willow felt like she belonged. The library smelled of old paper and ink, but Damien and his friends noticed. They began to target Maya, making comments about her appearance and questioning why she hung out with the ghost girl. Maya handled it with grace, deflecting insults and refusing to be intimidated. "You know," Damien said one afternoon as they passed Maya and Willow, "I didn't think anyone could find someone desperate enough to hang out with the ghost. Guess I was wrong." "Maybe they're perfect for each other," Cody added. "The freak and the what?" Maya interrupted, chin raised. "Go ahead, finish that thought. I dare you." The challenge hung in the air. Damien's eyes narrowed, not used to being challenged. "Careful, Patel. You don't want to make this worse." "Or what?" Maya's voice was steady, but Willow saw the tension in her shoulders. "You'll push me around like you do her? Real brave, picking on people who won't fight back." The crowd sensed the shift. This wasn't the usual bullying. This was something different with consequences. The air felt thick with anticipation. Damien stepped closer, his size obvious. "You have no idea what you're getting into." "Actually," Maya said, "I think I have a pretty good idea. You're a coward who needs an audience to feel powerful. Without your fan club, you're just another insecure kid who peaked in middle school." The words hit their mark. Damien's face flushed red, and it seemed he might cross the line. But then Leo put a hand on his shoulder, and the moment passed. "We'll see about that," Damien said, voice low. "Both of you." That evening, Willow paced her room, replaying the confrontation. Maya's courage had been inspiring, but it had escalated things. Her phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Don't worry, they're all talk." But Willow knew better. She had seen the look in Damien's eyes. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. The streetlight outside cast long shadows in her room. She walked to her closet and pushed aside clothes, revealing a collection of awards hidden behind them. Junior Olympic judo medals, black belt certificates, competition wins spanning years of training. Her grandfather's legacy lived in those achievements, in the discipline forged through practice. Her phone rang, and her grandfather's voice filled the room. "Willow, you sound troubled. What's on your mind?" Willow poured out the story, from the daily bullying to Maya's friendship to the growing tension. Her grandfather listened, letting the words flow. "And you have told no one of your training," her grandfather said. "You taught me true strength is shown through restraint," Willow replied, "that the greatest victory is the one that requires no battle." "Yes, child. But I also taught you there comes a time when restraint becomes complicity, when silence enables cruelty. The reed yields, but it does not break, and when the storm passes, it stands tall again." The conversation continued late into the night, exploring peace and justice, turning the other cheek and standing up for what was right. By the time they hung up, Willow felt something shifting inside her, a resolve finally crystallizing. The air felt cooler after the storm. The next morning was warmer. Students shed their jackets, and the energy felt volatile. Willow noticed the change. Conversations more intense, glances more meaningful. Word had spread about the confrontation, and the school held its breath. The sky was a clear, bright blue. She found Maya at their spot in the library, but something was off. Her smile was strained, and there were dark circles under her eyes. The library was quiet, save for the rustle of pages. "Everything okay?" Willow asked, sitting beside her. Maya hesitated, then pulled out her phone. The screen showed messages, each one more vicious. Anonymous accounts had bombarded her social media with comments, altered photos, and threats. The bullying had followed her home, invading her life. "They're really going after you," Willow said, scrolling through the messages. Her hands trembled as she read the words. "I can handle it," Maya said, but her voice lacked conviction. "I didn't expect them to be so vicious or so coordinated." The air smelled of paper and old ink. As if summoned, Damien and his friends appeared at the library entrance. They couldn't enter, but they didn't need to. Their presence was enough, a reminder that there was no sanctuary. Damien caught Willow's eye and smiled, the expression cold. He mouthed something that might have been soon or boom. The exact word didn't matter. The meaning was clear. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The rest of the day passed in a haze. Teachers noticed the tension, students whispering, but they remained oblivious. The clock ticked slowly in each classroom. It was during lunch that everything came to a head. Willow and Maya had found a spot behind the gym. They were sharing chips when the laughter started. "Look what we have here," Damien's voice cut through the air. The dynamic duo, hiding away. The scent of chlorine drifted from the nearby pool. They approached, movements coordinated. Behind them trailed a group of students, drawn by the spectacle. Someone recorded with their phone. The air crackled with tension. "We thought you should know," Cody said, "that we've been thinking about your speech, Patel." Inspiring stuff. "Especially the part about us being cowards," Leo added. "That really got to us, made us want to prove you wrong." Maya stood up, chin raised. "I'm not afraid of you." "Maybe you should be," Damien said, stepping closer. "See, we can't let disrespect slide. Bad for our reputation." The circle tightened and Willow felt trapped. But this time was different. This time, Maya was beside her, and the protective instinct blazed. The sunlight glinted off the metal bleachers. "Just leave us alone," Willow said, voice steadier. "We haven't done anything to you." Damien laughed. "Haven't done anything? Your friend called me a coward in front of the school? That's not something I can let slide." "She was right," Willow said, surprising everyone. "You are a coward, all of you." The wind rustled the leaves in the nearby trees. The silence was complete, broken only by traffic and wind. Damien's face went red. "What did you just say?" "I said you're a coward," Willow repeated louder. "You pick on people who won't fight back because you're too scared to face anyone who might actually challenge you. You're pathetic." The phones were raised, capturing the moment. Damien's composure cracked. "You want to see pathetic? I'll show you pathetic." He lunged, reaching for Willow's jacket. The fabric tore with a ripping sound, exposing her shoulders and the tank top underneath. The crowd gasped and someone laughed, but Willow barely heard them. The torn fabric felt rough in his hand. Something shifted inside her like a dam breaking. The months of bullying, the erosion of her dignity, the sight of Maya's tears. It all crystallized. Damien was still grinning, holding the torn fabric, when Willow's fist connected with his nose. The sound was sharp and wet and blood flowed. His head snapped back, shock replacing amusement. "Oh my God," someone breathed, and the crowd erupted. The air smelled of blood and fear. But Willow wasn't finished. Years of training had taught her to see openings. As Damien tried to regain balance, she swept his legs, sending him crashing. The movement was fluid, beautiful. Cody rushed forward, intending to help his friend, but Willow spun to face him. Her stance was balanced, radiating confidence that made him hesitate. The setting sun cast long shadows across the yard. "Don't," she said, and something in her voice made him stop. Leo took a step back, his bravado evaporating. This wasn't the scared girl. This was someone who moved with deadly grace. Damien rolled over, blood streaming, and looked up at Willow with pain and disbelief. You broke my nose. I could have broken a lot more." Willow replied calmly. But I chose not to. Remember that. She knelt beside him, voice dropping to a whisper. You want to know what pathetic looks like? It's lying on the ground, bleeding, because you picked on someone you thought was weak. It's spending so much time making other people feel small that you forgot how to be anything else. The taste of blood filled his mouth. She stood up, brushing dirt from her knees, and looked around at the faces. Anyone else want to try something? The silence stretched on, but Willow wasn't done. She turned to face the crowd, voice carrying clearly. I'm tired of being afraid, she said. I'm tired of watching good people get hurt because the rest of us are too scared to do anything about it. This ends now. The setting sun painted the sky with fiery colors. Maya stepped forward, face glowing. Willow, I should have done this weeks ago, Willow said, taking Maya's hand. I should have stood up for myself, for you, for everyone they've hurt. I'm sorry it took me so long. Her hand felt warm and strong. As teachers arrived and restored order, the dynamic of Crestwood shifted. The untouchables had been touched and found wanting. The scared girl had revealed herself to be a warrior, and the warrior had shown mercy. The air smelled of pine from the nearby trees. In the weeks that followed, the changes were subtle but profound. Damien returned with a splint on his nose and a smaller entourage. His friends distanced themselves from the cruelty. Maya and Willow's friendship deepened, their shared experience creating a bond. They were seen together constantly, two people who had found courage in each other. The library smelled of old paper and hope. But perhaps the biggest change was in Willow. The girl who had tried to disappear now walked with confidence, head held high, voice clear. She had learned true strength wasn't about hurting others, it was about protecting what mattered, even when it meant revealing hidden parts of herself. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the scent of change. The story of that day spread through the school, growing with each telling, but the message remained. Sometimes the quietest people surprise everyone. Sometimes the weakest person is actually the strongest. The stars began to appear in the darkening sky, and sometimes, when you stand up for what's right, you discover that you were never really alone. The moon cast a silvery glow over the school. Character count, 20,400.